The moment I heard that tiny AirTag chime, I swear my whole body went still. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. It was this soft little ding that should have meant absolutely nothing, but somehow it felt like the room froze around it. I remember staring at my phone like it had just spoken directly to me. You ever get that feeling where your heart drops before your brain even understands why? Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. At first, I thought maybe it was my own AirTag. I mean, we all misplace our stuff, right? Maybe I'd left it in my backpack, or maybe it was in my jeans pocket. I wasn't thinking straight. But then the notification popped up again, that same vibration, that same alert. Unknown AirTag detected. This item has been moving with you. And that was the moment everything inside me tightened, because I wasn't moving. I was sitting on the couch. And the only thing moving was my heartbeat. You know that moment in horror games where the environment suddenly gets too quiet. Like the game is warning you something's about to happen. That's what my living room felt like. I could actually hear the blood rushing in my ears while I stared at that warning. And I did that thing that everyone does: you laugh it off. You try to convince yourself you're overreacting. I'm mumbling to myself like, it's fine, it's probably someone next door, right? Maybe their AirTag is glitching, but the phone buzzed again. Same alert, same chilling message, this time with a little map showing movement over the last few hours. That's when my stomach twisted, because the movement wasn't from next door. It wasn't from outside. It was from my house, and not like general movement. It was showing movement through the hall, past the kitchen into the living room. Exactly where I had walked. It was tracking me. I remember leaning back slowly, like the couch could protect me. And that's when I realized something even worse. The alert didn't just mean the AirTag was nearby. It meant someone had placed it close enough to follow me, close enough to mimic my steps. And trust me, I'm not paranoid. I don't believe in ghosts hiding under the bed or monsters in the closet. But the idea that another person, some stranger I had never met, could have been close enough to tag my stuff, that was a different kind of fear, the real kind, the kind that makes your skin crawl because you know someone was physically near you. So I stood up very slowly, scanning the room like I was in some first-person horror game. Seriously, I felt like I should have had a flashlight and a stamina bar. Every shadow looked suspicious. The silence felt wrong. I even turned the TV down because somehow the sound felt too loud, too exposed. And then my phone buzzed again, not the alert this time, a small sound, a little chirp, the kind an AirTag makes when it's trying to help you find it. Only I wasn't looking for it. It was calling to me. I froze, literally didn't move a muscle, because that chirp. It came from somewhere inside the house, a place where it absolutely should not have been. And that's when the fear switched from "this is weird" to "I might not be alone right now." I remember whispering to myself, no way that wasn't inside the house. But then the chirp came again. Louder this time, and it was unmistakably coming from the hallway, my hallway, the same hallway I had just walked down earlier. I grabbed my phone like it was a weapon, like a piece of glowing plastic was somehow going to defend me from whatever was making that noise. The room felt colder. Every little sound felt amplified, like the world wanted me to hear something I wasn't ready to hear. I took a few steps forward, and I swear my heartbeat was louder than my footsteps. The AirTag chirped again, and the sound was clearer now. More precise, almost like it was responding to my movement. Every step I took, it answered, like some sick echo. And when I reached the hall, I saw something that made my chest feel hollow. The guest room door was slightly open, just enough to show darkness inside, just enough to tell me it hadn't been like that before. I hadn't gone in there. I hadn't touched that door, and no one else was supposed to be here, but the AirTag chime was coming from that room. And I swear the air in the hallway became heavier, thicker, like something was waiting behind that cracked door. My fingers were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I could have ignored it. I could have backed away. But something, curiosity, fear, adrenaline pulled me toward it. And the closer I stepped, the louder the chirping became. Until finally I was standing in front of that door, staring into the darkness behind it. And that's when I realized whatever was inside that room had been close to me. Too close, but what I found when I finally stepped inside, that's where everything went wrong. I wish I could tell you I walked into that room like some kind of hero, but the truth is every step felt like I was walking into a boss fight I was wildly underleveled for. The door creaked open just a little more when I nudged it with my foot, and that sound alone made me flinch hard enough to embarrass myself. You know that old wooden hinge moan that horror games love to exaggerate? Yeah, that sound, in real life. Right in my ear, the room was pitch black except for the faintest bit of streetlight slipping in from the blinds. And that's when the smell hit me. Dust, old fabric, stale air, the kind of smell that tells you no one has been in there for a very, very long time. Which made it even worse that there was something inside making noise. My phone vibrated again, signal strong. The little arrow on the screen pulsed like it was pointing at a creature I didn't want to meet. I stepped in slowly, letting my eyes adjust. Everything looked exactly the same, as always, the old dresser in the corner, a stack of blankets we never touched, the mattress leaning against the wall. But the atmosphere, it felt wrong, almost like the room was holding its breath. I whispered, "Hello?" I don't know why. It's not like the AirTag was going to answer, but maybe I was hoping nothing else would either. I heard footsteps behind me in the hallway, quiet, extremely slow footsteps. My entire body snapped toward the sound, but when I turned, the hallway was empty, just the shadows. My pulse was pounding so hard it hurt. I told myself it was my imagination, because the alternative was way worse. There was no one else in the house. No one. The locks were all sealed. The alarm was on before I entered the guest room. There was no logical explanation for footsteps, but fear doesn't want logic. Fear just wants something to panic about. The AirTag chirped again, louder, clearer, somewhere inside the room. I turned back and noticed something weird. My phone screen shifted. The direction arrow changed, pointing toward the mattress. I stepped closer, and I heard it. A muffled, metallic ping from behind the fabric. I felt the texture with my hand, cold, rough, thick, and when I pressed harder, I felt something inside, something small, something round. My brain instantly went into horror, game mode. This was the part where some monster bursts out, right? Or a hand reaches through, or something whispers my name from behind the wall. I took a deep breath and pushed the mattress away from the wall. It scraped loudly across the wooden floor, making the whole room feel like it was vibrating. And yeah, I almost screamed at my own shadow. Don't judge. With the mattress pulled back, the sound was even clearer. Ping, 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 almost rhythmic. I reached behind it, and my fingers brushed something foreign. Something metallic. I grabbed it and pulled it out. An Apple AirTag, scratched, dirty, wrapped in a thin piece of duct tape. But the scariest part, there was a slit, an actual slice, on the back side of the mattress. Someone had cut it open, slipped the AirTag inside, and tried to hide it. I suddenly felt sick thinking about it. Who would do that? When did they do it? How long had it been there? My fingers were trembling so hard the AirTag nearly slipped out of my hand. I unwrapped the duct tape, and that's when I noticed something even worse. The AirTag wasn't new. It had wear on the edges, scrapes, dirt, like it had been used a lot, like it had been placed somewhere else before being placed here. I whispered, "What the hell?" And I swear the walls echoed it back at me. I backed up, still staring at the tiny device in my hand. I felt like it was staring back, and yes, I know it's just a circle of plastic and metal, but in that moment it didn't feel innocent. It felt like an eye. My phone buzzed again. Owner, unknown. Item last seen, now. Item currently nearby. The words currently nearby made my throat tighten. Because I was holding it, and that meant the AirTag wasn't the scary part. The scary part was whoever owned it. Someone put it in my house, someone tracked me, someone was watching my movements, and as I stood there, staring at that little device, completely frozen, I heard it. Footsteps, not slow this time, not subtle, fast, running, coming from the hallway, straight toward the guest room. I didn't even have time to breathe, because whatever was in my house, it wasn't the AirTag. The footsteps in the hallway weren't just loud, they were deliberate. Fast, heavy, like someone sprinting with absolute certainty about where they were going. And where they were going was straight toward me. I didn't think, I didn't plan, I just reacted. I shoved the mattress aside, nearly tripping over it, and pressed myself against the wall like some terrified NPC hiding from the final boss. My breath was stuck in my throat. My hands were shaking so violently the AirTag tapped against my fingers. The footsteps stopped right outside the door, just stopped. The silence that followed wasn't normal silence, it had weight. It felt like someone or something was standing there, listening to me breathe. The house was so quiet I could hear the faint ticking of a clock somewhere in the living room. I held my breath and tried not to make a sound. You ever play those stealth games where if you breathe too loud, the monster finds you? That's exactly what it felt like. And then a shadow moved under the door. I saw it clear as day, the faint silhouette of feet. Two of them motionless, facing the room. My heart cramped so hard it felt like it skipped a beat entirely. I slid down the wall slowly, not to hide, but because my knees genuinely gave out for a second. I was terrified to blink, terrified to breathe, terrified to exist. Then, something even worse happened. The doorknob twitched. Not a full turn, just a tiny, deliberate test, like whoever was out there wanted to see if I would react. My grip tightened around the AirTag until it hurt. It buzzed faintly, as if mocking me, as if reminding me that none of this would be happening if someone hadn't planted it here. The doorknob twitched again, slightly harder this time, and I swear I felt the blood drain out of my face. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but there was nowhere to run to. I was cornered, one way out. One door, and someone was on the other side of it. The doorknob fell silent. Then the footsteps started again, only now they were moving away. Slow, purposeful, like the person out there had all the time in the world. Like they knew I was trapped and didn't need to rush. I forced myself to stand and edged closer to the door. My ear hovered just inches from the wood, trying to hear where they went. But the hallway was silent again, too silent. I whispered, barely audible, "Please be gone." But honestly, I didn't believe it. I pushed the door open just enough to peek. The hallway was empty, no shadow, no movement, just the long stretch of darkness and the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. But something felt wrong. Something felt watched. I walked out slowly, AirTag still clutched in my hand. My phone buzzed again with another ping, almost like it was warning me. The arrow shifted directions repeatedly, confused, like the signal was bouncing off walls. I stepped softly into the hallway. Each step echoed slightly, just enough to make me paranoid that someone else was walking too, just one step behind me, perfectly timed to my movements. Then the phone vibrated harder than before. AirTag detected nearby, signal extremely strong. I froze mid-step. The arrow pointed behind me, every muscle in my body locked up. I turned my head so slowly it felt like my neck was grinding against stone. The hallway behind me was empty, visually empty, but the feeling was wrong, heavy, like the air itself had a shape I couldn't see. I took a single step backward. The phone vibrated again. The arrow followed that step. I said out loud, "There's no one here, there's no one here," but my voice cracked, betraying the lie. Because even if no one was visible, something was right behind me. I forced myself to move forward toward the living room. Every step was a battle. My phone screen pulsed like a heartbeat. Strong, stronger, stronger, ping. Ping, ping. By the time I reached the living room doorway, the vibrations were almost constant, like the AirTag was on top of me. I spun around, finally losing it, ready to swing my phone at anything at all, and nothing. Just an empty hallway, but then the AirTag in my hand chirped, not the soft little sound it made before. This one was sharp, urgent, like it was responding to someone else. I checked the screen again, expecting the same unknown owner message. But a new line appeared, something I'd never seen before. Item moved recently. Last movement, 2 seconds ago. 2 seconds. 2 seconds meant something had just touched it. Something other than me. I whispered no, nope, no. I backed away so fast I hit the edge of the couch. And that's when it happened. A loud thud echoed from the hallway, not like someone bumping into a wall. Not like something fell, it was the thud of a heavy step, a human step, followed by another and another. Each one closer, deliberate, unhurried, like whoever, or whatever was out there wanted me to hear them coming. My breathing went out of control. My palms were slick with sweat. The AirTag was slipping. My phone vibrated nonstop. The footsteps turned the corner, but I couldn't see anything, just darkness. Then, from deep in the hallway, a low creak, like someone leaning against the floorboards. And then a whisper, not words, not a voice, just a sound, a breath, right behind my ear. I spun around so violently, the AirTag flew out of my hand and hit the floor, skidding across the wooden planks. It slid to a stop in the middle of the hallway. Then it chirped, once, twice, 3 times, and the footsteps stopped. Right next to it, whoever had been following me was now standing where the AirTag landed. I couldn't see them. But I felt them, and the worst part, the AirTag started vibrating again harder than before, like it was signaling directly to its owner. And that's when I realized the owner wasn't just nearby. They were in the house with me, inside the same room of silence and darkness. And I had no idea where they were standing. The AirTag lay in the middle of the hallway like some cursed object, vibrating nonstop, rattling against the floorboards. I didn't want to go near it, but I didn't want to take my eyes off it either. It felt like staring at a trap in a horror game, like the moment you blink, something pops out. The house was dead silent except for the faint mechanical buzz of the AirTag. I swallowed hard, stepping backward toward the front door without turning around. Every instinct told me not to give my back to that hallway. Then the AirTag stopped vibrating instantly. Like someone had picked it up, my breath caught in my throat, because nothing makes an AirTag just stop like that unless your hand is on it. I stared into the hallway, squinting into the dark. I couldn't see anything, but my gut screamed that something was standing right there, holding it, watching me. The floor creaked softly, a slow shift of weight. Not walking, just repositioning. Like the owner didn't want to leave, just wanted me to know they were right there. I whispered, I'm leaving, don't follow me," even though I knew silence was the better move. The hallway answered with another low creak. I bolted for the door, didn't grab my shoes, didn't grab a jacket. Just ran, and as I flung the door open, the AirTag chirped one last time behind me, this time louder, almost angry, echoing through the house like a final warning. That was the moment I knew the tracking wasn't an accident. Whoever planted it, whoever was inside, they weren't trying to steal anything. They were trying to keep me there, and I escaped a second too soon. I don't even remember the run to the car. My brain was in survival mode, just primal fear and cold air burning my lungs. When I finally slammed the car door shut, I locked it about 5 times out of pure panic. My hands were shaking so violently I dropped the keys twice before starting the engine. I parked down the street, far enough to watch the house but not close enough that anyone inside could see me. And I waited 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing moved, no silhouette in the doorway, no footsteps. No lights flickering, just a quiet, harmless looking house like nothing had ever happened. The cops arrived eventually. They searched everything, every room, every closet, every hiding spot. When they came back out, the officer said the words I least wanted to hear: "There's no one inside." But then he held something out to me, the AirTag, wrapped in tape again, as if someone had rewrapped it while I was gone. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, no explanation, just that chirping little tracker waiting. I moved out the same week, haven't been back, and sometimes, randomly, late at night, I still get phantom vibrations on my phone, like the alert is coming back. Like the AirTag is near again. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's paranoia, or maybe the person who planted it never stopped watching. Either way, let's just say I'm never ignoring an Apple alert again, and I'm definitely never staying alone in a silent house at night.